Hi, welcome back to our channel, Two Brothers Opinion. My name is Barry. This is my brother Mark.
Right. So today, we're going to hit a topic that you know more of, and I know zero of. But I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Okay.
And in the end, we're going to ask people to comment, and maybe they have, maybe they have information that I don't know.
Okay.
That they could also say, "Hey, check this out," because I haven't looked at it, and I know you have. So, you wanna tell them what it is?
Yeah, we're going to talk about flat Earth theory, and most people think the Earth's not flat.
Right.
And I actually do.
Right. People think, you got a globe, you got pictures from outer space, you got pictures of other planets that are circular. So, assuming that,
Correct.
right, and that's okay.
Correct. Correct. So, the reason why I believe the Earth is flat, see, I never did until I worked with a person. She's Mexican and Native American. And she really opened my eyes and told me to start watching this certain guy and watching these videos. And I started watching them. And it started making me think, just like the theory of gravity. What is gravity?
Right.
And how does it work? Well, most people think that if I take this phone and drop it, that is gravity. Well, I think it's air to weight density. This is heavier than the air. That's why it falls. Sir Isaac Newton, discoverer of gravity, was sitting below
the apple tree.
an apple tree.
Yep.
And an apple fell and hit him in the head. He said they figured it was gravity. How he came up with that, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know the actual research or whatever he did. But I think the apple weighed more than the air, and it came down and hit him in the head.
Yeah, because people would say, well, if it wasn't for gravity, we would all float up into
Float off into space.
Right. Yeah. But we're heavier than.
Well, that's a good point. So you do know a little bit.
Well, I'm just saying.
Really, what you brought up was very key factor. So everybody thinks that we're in the Milky Way, in the galaxy of the Milky Way, and Earth and all the other planets, and we are being pulled by the sun. We're on an axis, spinning at so many 1,000 miles an hour, being dragged through space at so many 100,000 or 600,000 or whatever it is, 300, 600, I think it's 64,000 miles per hour, and that gravity holds us on. Well, if I get up too fast from a chair, I feel like I'm going to fall over. I'm dizzy. So imagine being on an axis, spinning, being dragged through space, and you don't feel it.
Right. Yeah, we don't feel it at all. We don't think we're spinning, and we don't think we're rotating.
Correct. So, do I believe planets spin and all that and move? Yes, I do. I believe the Earth doesn't. I believe we are the center of the universe, and we are flat. Water above, water below. It's in the Bible, and it's protected by a dome, the firmament. That's what I believe. So they say that the North Star is the only star that does not move. That's what they use to navigate before GPS satellites, and they would use a sextant.
Right.
Right,
Yep.
Exactly. So at night, on a clear night, which we don't have a lot over here in Connecticut, but Arizona and other states, yes. So what you do is you get a camera and you point at night, you point at the North Star and you take a long exposed picture and develop it. And you could actually go online and look up that, and you'll see all the stars doing this. So that means we are the center. They're circulating around the Earth. Because if we were on an axis, spinning, being dragged through space, all those light would be jumbled. That's just my opinion.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons. And also there is a mathematical equation for the curvature of the Earth. Now people are going to say I'm nuts, but you can look up the mathematical equation. So there was a guy in England, it was called the Bedford Levels. It's a channel of water that's straight. So this scientist took a rowboat with a guy in the rowboat and put a flag on the rowboat. He put a telescope just above the water and had the guy row beyond the curvature of the Earth, and he could still see him. So if there's a mathematical equation for the curvature of Earth, he would be on the other side of the curve.
Right.
The same thing in, I believe it's in Peru, but I'm not sure the actual, I think it's Peru. There's an area down there almost like the salt flats where it's level, and when it rains, it looks like a mirror. Now water will always, here's a good, if I could peel this off, water always finds level. That's why brooks run. It's always searching for level. So you take that and put it on its side, it's sloshing around and it's searching for level.
Right.
So now this salt flat runs for miles. So if it runs for miles, it would be on the curve. So the water would run, it wouldn't be level. That's another thing that I believe.
Yeah. So I think you told me the boat one before. Like if a boat was gone.
The boats, yeah. So with the naked eye, if you look out and you saw a ship and it disappears, it's not over. They're saying it's over the curvature of the earth. But if you take binoculars, all of a sudden that boat is back in your vision. And if you hold those binoculars there and it goes out of sight, sometimes they say we'll actually invert because of the way our eyes work. If you take a telescope, that boat will be there. So it's still beyond the curvature of the earth. Same thing with flying. They say that there's probably a bunch of pilots listening to this, and I believe that they lie. You got to ask them. The horizon. So it's called a plane. We flew in a plane. I say it's a plane because we fly on a plane. They say it's, if you ask them, well, if we're flying and the earth is curved, they say it's all this mathematical, the computer figures everything out and it adjusts. It doesn't. It's a mechanical thing and that's it, the horizontal horizon. It's not hooked up to any electronics.
Wasn't there something about they don't fly over the pole, North Pole? There was one of the poles or something. There was something you said where the flight paths don't go over a certain.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. There was someone I can't think 100% on this. Where the person, I think they were in the Philippines, and they were flying to Los Angeles. And there was a lady on the flight and she was pregnant and she was giving birth and they did an emergency stop in Alaska. But on a flat map, Alaska is aligned with California, where on the globe, it's not.
Right.
So they're saying, why would they go here to go here when they could have just did straight? But they say there's nothing in between. But there is. Alaska.
Right.
On the flat map. Because there is such a thing as the flat map. Because they say they thought years and years ago that the earth was flat and you would fall off.
Right.
I believe Antarctica, and of course, all the climate change people, we could talk about that really quick, is there's more ice now in Antarctica than ever before. Right. It's come back.
Yeah.
So they say that the wall, because there are pictures of the ice wall, that is the ring that holds the water in.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like most people would say, well, if we're flat, and if the water's going, like, why doesn't the water spill into space?
So the theory is Antarctica is not a continent. It's an ice wall all around that holds the water in.
So
that's why it's the only treaty ever signed by all the nations that has never been broken. Because what is in Antarctica? Why do they not want you to go? You could go to a certain area and that's it. You can't explore. Like the youngest admiral, which was Byrd. Admiral Byrd. He did multiple journeys into Antarctica. And there is a video, black and white, of him on some program talking about what was discovered beyond that. And they discovered there's another continent, there's water, fresh water, resources, oil, gems, precious metals. If you listen to him, and then that's it. All of a sudden after that, he's gone. You don't hear much about him anymore. Well, of course he died.
Right. So then do they say, okay, if we assume that the earth is flat, how deep is it? Because
I don't know.
They talk about the
Well, the oceans.
The Marianas Trench or whatever.
Oh, yeah, well,
it's supposed to be
how many miles
it's
down?
As deep
Yeah.
it's as deep as Mount Everest is, or something.
Right, you could put Mount Everest in there, and it's still deeper.
Right.
The Mount Everest wouldn't come out of
Right.
the Marianas Trench. It's the deepest part of the Pacific. It's right near the Marianas Island group, which is where our father was, near Saipan and Tinian. I mean, that's the thing that gravity. Going back on the gravity, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but that's how my mind works. You have a ship on water, and it's floating across the water. So everybody knows that the Earth is made up of mostly water.
Yep.
Trillions and gazillions or whatever
Gallons,
of gallons,
right.
which is very, very heavy.
Right.
So now gravity would have to work very strong to hold that water against the Earth. But a boat floats over it. And a bird flies over it and doesn't suck it down. How does the gravity know not to pull that ship down?
Or the bird.
Or the bird, but yet hold all that water against the Earth? And people say, "Whoa, well, there's pictures from the spacecraft that went up, and they took pictures." And I believe those are generated, not AI. Whatever they used before, I think they're generated. This just like the pictures from Earth, from the moon to the Earth. You don't see nothing but the Earth.
Right.
There's no lights around, but yet you can see stars when you look up in the sky. Why is it just a vacuum and then there's Earth? There's nothing else. Because I also believe we've never been to the moon, but we could talk about that.
Yeah.
So how does that happen? So that's how my brain works. My brain doesn't automatically process, because you're telling me the Earth is round, I have to believe it's round. Go to a store and look up globes. On the bottom of the globe, it just says it's for instructional purposes only. Why would it say that on a globe?
Yeah. I don't know, because you're not supposed to assume it's the real Earth.
Because
I don't know.
You're only supposed to assume what they tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, you could prove it really easy. The Hubble Space Telescope. Now, is the Hubble Space Telescope real? It actually is. I have a very good friend. His brother is a optical engineer. When the Hubble Space Telescope had problem with his lens, he worked on that new lens that they brought up. Now, that's inner space, not outer space. And all they have to do on live TV, turn it around, point it at the Earth. They won't do it. When that guy, what's his name? The guy that jumped out of the capsule that was really high, floated up in the air, Wambam, I forget his name.
Yeah.
They brought him up, I don't know how many miles. Why did they use a fisheye lens when he opened up the door and it made everything look like it's curved?
Yeah, I don't know.
And when he jumped, if the Earth was spinning and rotating, being dragged through space, he didn't fall very far from where he took off from. Why wouldn't he be on the other side of the Earth? Why, when a jet is landing, why does it just come in and land? I thought we're moving. So that means the landing site, your landing strip is moving. They would have to make adjustments. They don't.
Well, but wouldn't they do the same thing with like an aircraft carrier? The boat is moving, so the plane has to adjust to the movement of the boat, right?
Right, but they're on water moving.
Right. No, all of a sudden I'm like,
No.
oh, wait, there's a plane coming in, landing.
You're
on,
right.
On a boat is moving, so you have to adjust for the
Right,
movement.
and they
of
have
the
the
boat.
guy up there with all the flags.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, in World War II movies, you see him doing this or
Right.
whatever. You know,
Yeah.
but you're on Earth. You're on dry land. You're not in the ocean moving.
So if the Earth were flat, is it turning, or is it just flat in space and never moves?
The Earth itself,
Yeah.
I believe we never move.
Okay.
I believe the sun is rotating around us and the moon. We're not following them.
So how? Okay.
I know,
No.
there's a
I just
million
have
questions.
Yeah, because I'm okay. So how? And you may or may not
I may not
know
know.
the answer. How do we explain eclipses then? If we're flat,
the sun, because the Earth.
right? But that goes back to my question about how thick are we? If we're flat, how thick are we? Because we have to get in the case of an eclipse, we have to get in the way of light.
The moon.
Right. So
Because I believe they're on a different rotational pattern.
right, but
They could be moving at different speeds, and eventually
Yeah.
they catch up to each other.
I don't know. I'm just, again,
Yeah.
I'm not saying right or wrong. I'm just going.
No, neither am I.
I'm
This is my
Right. I'm thinking, okay, let's assume we're flat, Earth, or I mean, the moon, sun,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's an eclipse. Now they always would say, well, it's because the Earth got in the way of the sunlight,
Mm-hmm.
so then you have a lunar eclipse.
Yep.
But if we're flat, then the only way that happens is if we're really thick.
We could
Right.
be.
Right. If it was flat.
I don't know. It doesn't say in the Bible how thick I know the deepest hole ever dug was in Russia. It's over a mile deep, and they stood it, and they could have still went going, and they stopped. Why they stopped, I don't know. But I mean, as far as the eclipse, I believe the sun and the moon, and I believe the sun's not 93 million miles away from us. The sun and the moon are on different
Right.
speeds or different
Right.
rotational
And, right.
patterns.
And the theory is right. So they're rotating, but the Earth gets in the way at times, and you get an eclipse. Some
Well, the
part,
moon would get in the way.
well, or partial,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, the moon would get in the way. Not the Earth. It's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse.
Well,
The Earth's not getting in the way, is it?
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I thought it was that
I don't know.
if the sun if you go by the conventional theory that the sun is the middle and it's shining its light
Correct.
and it hits the moon, but then the Earth gets in the way,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
then
Yes.
that's why
Yes.
that's why there's a lunar
Right.
eclipse. But if we were flat,
I,
we
I-
would have to be really thick
Yeah,
in that case
and we could
to block that light.
maybe.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. That,
Yeah.
Don't know.
I don't
I
know.
had heard that we're flat and they're on a different rotational pattern. Oh, geometry. Geometry is what? The study of angles.
Yeah.
Okay. The sun is 93 million miles away from Earth. Do you ever drive and all of a sudden you see the rays coming down almost like the rising sun Japanese flag?
Yep.
If you follow them, I don't think it's 93 million miles away. I think it's a lot closer than people think, and it's a lot smaller. The deception.
There was a time when I lived in Flagstaff, Arizona, when we were coming up out of Phoenix, and when you've probably driven that, when you come up, you're going from maybe 1,000 feet above sea level to 7,000 feet.
Sure.
And I remember driving up, and there was the moon, and we're driving and driving and driving.
It looked like you could
and all of a
reach
sudden-
out and touch it.
Well, not only that, but at some point I was looking, and the moon looked like it was below me, like.
Is it?
Well, I don't know. It was a weird thing, because
see-
I remember like there's the moon and we're driving up and up
Yeah.
and up, and now I'm looking at the moon and it seemed like it was lower.
I seen videos.
It's the weirdest thing.
I seen videos of people in high altitude flights. I mean, like way up research, and they look down, and it looks like the damn clouds are on fire. Is the sun really 93 million miles away, or was that the sun? I don't know.
Who knows?
So when you start going down the rabbit holes of flat Earth,
Right.
not going to the moon, it opens up so many things. And then you go into the Bible where they're talking about the firmament, water above, water below. Hell, it was in The Simpsons. One of the episodes where it's a game. I don't know if they're watching the World Series and the guy hits a high pop fly and it breaks the firmament. And water comes pouring down. And they talk about the Simpsons, things that have happened, and you know what I'm talking
Yeah, I know.
about.
Yeah, there's weird stuff that's been on The Simpsons, and 10 years later, 15, 20 years later,
it's
it all
happening.
happens.
So
What's the same thing with Star Trek? Like those TV shows.
yeah. So is that real?
Who knows?
I don't know, Mark.
And
But when someone sits there,
what's the moon supposed to be then?
cheese,
No.
Limburger, because it
Limburger
really
cheese.
smells.
If the sun is 93 million, I forgot what the moon is.
287,000. I looked it up.
Yeah,
I
okay.
looked it up.
Yeah, I
I
forget.
247,000 miles.
Okay, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, when we were talking about NASA too. You know, we were talking about the budget. We talked
Right, yeah.
about going to the moon. Did we really go to the moon?
Right,
You know, why
Yeah,
did the
I mean-
rockets go up? The space shuttle used to go up and go on an angle and go out of sight.
right.
Where did it really go? I don't
Well,
know.
I saw an interview with who's the first guy on the moon?
John Glenn?
Yeah, but they were asking him like, were you on the moon?
Oh, would you swear on the Bible?
Yeah, and he wouldn't swear on the Bible.
Of course not. I told you, watch the interview after the very first the guys that go to the moon. They don't look really excited.
Well, I'll tell you, like I say, originally I thought, because again, being little and watching it on TV, everyone was glued to the televisions, and here's
I remember.
here's the man walking on the moon and everything else. So I always thought, well, yeah, and now I don't think we were, based on the Van Allen belt and a bunch of other things. I'm sitting here going, I'm not sure we really were there. I don't think we were.
Just the logo of NASA looks like a snake's tongue.
But here's, and then so what? Then you say, okay, to what degree do they try to manipulate you? Because we brought back moon rocks.
Well, they discovered those moon rocks weren't really moon rocks.
That's what I'm saying.
They tested them.
And then the whole thing about the lunar rover, it's like the thing you landed in was pretty small. Where did they keep this?
Yeah, they had to
this
build
vehicle?
it. They say they had to build it.
Yeah.
So we're getting off the track.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Earth.
What I'm saying is, so they give you a theory. The Earth is round.
Yep.
And everybody goes, okay. And then it's taught from a young age in school. You have a globe. You have this.
Yeah.
So everything that they
That's
teach
another
you,
point.
everything they teach you says this. But now I'm saying,
that's another point. If you're in kindergarten, first grade, and the teacher walks out with a map that's flat and goes, "This is where we live,"
right?
That's where we lived.
Yeah.
Just the same way they came out with a globe and said, "This is where we live."
Well, there is that map.
Yeah.
There is that map that looks like it's flat. It's got all the continents, but it's laid out flat.
Yeah. There is a if you could go on your phone and just look up the flat map of the flat Earth, and you'll see the ring which holds the water in, which is Antarctica, the wall of ice.
I don't know.
She opened up my eyes.
Yeah.
I used to work with her, like I said, and Native Americans got kind of a connection that.
Yep.
They talked about Bigfoot for years. People don't believe in Bigfoot, but then why were Indian tribes who there was no technology to contact people that were in tribes over here in the Northeast, tribes out west, but yet they might have a different name for it, but it's exactly the same animal or part human, whatever.
Yeah. Well, there's also somebody's, I think it was just in the news recently, where they unearthed these giant skeletons. These people are like 18 feet tall.
Yeah.
How do you? I know. There's just so much stuff.
The Nephilim.
Yeah.
If you look in your Bible,
isn't that animal?
No.
There's so much that you wonder, like, okay, who really knows? Like, is it people in the government? Like who really knows truths about everything or most things? And they just don't want to tell you. Because I think human beings can handle the truth.
Now, not then.
Right, but I think now human beings can handle the truth.
They don't want you to know. The Nephilim are basically giants that roamed the earth, and what it was angels came down. They fantasized and how beautiful the women of earth were, and they mated with them, and they grew these. They had giants, and the Lord was upset over that. That's another reason why. He wiped out the earth because they disobeyed God.
Yeah.
And had these giants. Noah, Methuselah, and what's the other one? Methuselah, Noah, and Enoch. Why did they take Enoch out of the Bible? Why did the Pope pull Enoch? They were all related. They were like great grandfathers and fathers and yeah.
No, I was like.
No, but
you know my brain. As soon as
I know. So
why did they think Enoch at least? Because he kept knocking at the front door.
He kept knocking.
Yeah. And then you wouldn't have all those Enoch jokes.
Yep, that was the where the people come knock on your door on a Saturday morning.
Oh yeah, the oh my God,
Jehovah's
Witness people. Yeah,
they were pre-Jehovah's Witness.
Oh my God, I got the big story. I knew a guy.
We're Italian.
I actually knew a guy.
We know a guy
who used to get the Jehovah's Witnesses like come to his door all the time. He got sick and tired of it, so he saw some of them coming up. So he answered the door in his underwear, and he opened the door, and he's like, "Well, it's about time you're here. I ordered you an hour ago." And they ran. They never came again. They never knocking his door again.
So, I mean, when you were talking about giants, then you start going down into, if you look up the giant of Kandahar, supposedly it's a true story. There's interviews about a giant in Afghanistan, Kandahar.
Well, I think I just saw a picture of in Kandahar. There's a full skeleton. This thing's like massive.
They flew it to, after this patrol went missing, they sent up special forces unit, Rangers, whoever, Delta, I don't know who, and they got into a battle with this thing, and they killed it, and they put it on a flatbed type thing, and airlifted it up, put it on a transport, like a C-130 or C-5. They actually have one of the pilots, I saw an interview. He said, yeah, the thing had 6 toes, 6 fingers. Guess where they flew it to? Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Where's that?
Ohio.
Oh.
What else did they fly to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base from Roswell?
Oh.
The supposed crashed
really?
UFO.
I didn't know that.
It went to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base,
Really?
Hangar 18.
Well, now that we start talking about that kind of stuff, and maybe we'll get into this other thing about these underground.
Oh, yeah.
The underground
Bases
that we have in the United
Cities.
States. Yeah.
Streets.
Yeah.
They could actually go across country, they're saying.
Yeah. And most Americans don't know about it.
No, and those are true.
Yeah.
Because there's been people that worked on them that are sworn to secrecy that have spilled the beans a little bit.
Yeah, and they think that that's partly the elites, that if there was any sort of a nuclear war, they would all go underneath there.
I
and
want
live.
to die. I don't want to go underground.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, though. It's like there's so much stuff that is going on that we don't know.
And this is where all this money,
Yeah.
that leads us to the Pentagon,
Yeah.
where out of the Department of Defense, was it $81 billion or something? I forget how much money it was. And they were researching it in the Pentagon. They had all these hard drives and paperwork trying to find where this money went.
Yeah.
And supposedly a jet just happened to hit that exact room and destroy everything.
During 9/11.
During 9/11.
Right.
See, another
Right. I know.
thing you have to research. I still think it was a cruise missile that hit it.
Yeah, because they say that there's no parts of an airplane anywhere there.
No luggage, no bodies.
Right.
A lady that was in the Pentagon walked through the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was hurt, but she walked through the hole. She said she didn't see a jet. She didn't see bodies, luggage, nothing.
And there's no, with all the cameras on all the
They
buildings.
confiscated them all.
Yeah, right. I'm saying there's no video of a plane coming in. And I've driven right by there on the highway.
You can't fly a 757 into that building.
Well, you'd hit the highway first. There's no way you
but
could
a
come
cruise
in.
missile wouldn't.
There's no, right, what I'm saying, there's no way you could come in that low to go into that building as supposedly as straight as it did.
Yep.
Because if you've driven by there, the highways are elevated. There's no way to do it. You would have come in like this.
Yeah. With a 757, they're big.
Yeah.
Cruise missile, So we started on flat Earth, and we got into the.
Well, no, but it's the same
These are
kind
the things we're talking about to open up your mind, expand your mind. My mind was closed till I worked with this person in Arizona for 9 years, almost 9 years, and we became friends. And she started opening me up to flat Earth and Enoch and all these other theories that you talk about.
No, it's just hard for me to say when you say Enoch. It's hard for me not to say who's there. Sorry.
I know. No, who's there? Yeah, I know.
Anyways.
But why do they do things like that? Why do they take stuff out of the Bible? Who the hell is the Pope to do that?
I don't know. This supposedly, I saw this Pope just gave his first mass or something, and he's trying to bring back a lot of the original tenets of the Catholic Church. We'll see. We'll see.
You mean no more pedophiles?
Yeah, it would be
Pedophile
nice.
priests where they transfer
I
them
think
from one parish to the other and they don't go to prison for the things
Well,
that they
yeah,
did?
and the other thing was, I guess, I don't know if it was the Pope that just died or someone before him, but they were, more okay with gay marriage and stuff like this. And I think this Pope is kind of leaning back towards more
It's better because it's not right.
Yeah, no.
In my opinion. I don't care what you do, but in my opinion, man shall not sleep with man. It says it in the Bible.
Yeah.
That means man and man and women and women. It doesn't mean men, period. It's okay for women. It's just that's the way. And so anyhow,
Yeah.
flat Earth.
Okay. Well, I'm curious to have people send stuff in.
Yeah, we're gonna be hell. I bet someone will say you're nuts.
Well, yeah, maybe you
Okay,
know.
that's fine.
That's
You have an
fine,
opinion.
but
show me that I'm not.
I was just going to say, if you want to say he's nuts,
Yeah.
then say, and here's my evidence why you're nuts. Don't just say, oh, you're crazy. Oh, you're an idiot.
But they're going to say the same evidence, Mark. That
Well, maybe they do.
They're going to say,
Jesus.
yeah, they're going to show the same evidence that everybody shows. Here's a picture from space.
Yeah. Well, that's
Here's
not-
a globe.
We already know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm curious though if other people.
Yeah, there was
something.
just really brief.
Jeez.
What the hell is that?
A shelf just fell.
Oh,
I think there's a
ghost in the house.
ghost in the house.
Yeah, when we
and-
said Enoch.
Yeah, it's freaking Enoch. He's knocking at the
Knocking
door.
at the door.
Because there's no reason that thing just fell.
There's a video. You could look this up of a weathercaster, of a weatherman in Chicago, where this guy is on a boat and takes a picture, or on land takes a picture, and you can see the Chicago skyline, and he says it's a mirage. It's the fragments from the light, from the blah blah blah, and he's full of it, because if you could actually, where this picture was taken on a clear day, he saw it. So what happened? A guy goes and rents a boat. On a clear day, he saw Chicago skyline. It's beyond the curvature of the earth.
Right.
So the weathercaster, weatherman was saying, it's a mirage. It's not a mirage because someone proved it's real. You could actually see the skyline from on one of the Great Lakes.
That's crazy.
That's proof.
Yep. Well,
Oh well,
like I said, let's say
my proof.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Anyways,
Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for watching this controversial video. My opinions. And
I have no opinion yet.
yeah. So please hit the like and subscribe, hit
Yep.
the
Hit
notification
those
bell.
buttons.
I know I'll get some comments saying you're nuts, but that's okay. That's your opinion, and I respect that.
Because you have a voice, and don't let anyone silence it.
Yeah.
If that's your voice, then you get to say it.
And I'm leaving the house because shelves are falling.
Shelves are falling. It's
mysteriously.
freaking. That'd be a good topic to do, like ghosts and shit.
Oh, I don't like that. I'm scared of ghosts.
I got stories to tell.
I'm sure.
I do.
Oh,
Anyways.
we both.
Yeah.
I know.
I know.
Alrighty.
Okay. So, see you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.